Did you grow up on the right side of the tracks or the wrong side of the tracks? In today's video, we're going to talk about how the community you grew up in affects the way that you operate, the thoughts you believe, and the success that you are probably achieving. Hi, I'm Tracy from Money Boss, and we are here to help you master your money mindset so that you can build the life of your dreams. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe. My whole channel is literally dedicated to helping you step into your personal power so that you can be healthy, wealthy, and happy. So click the like so that you are notified every time we put out a video. The right side of the tracks or the wrong side of the tracks? We are going through the money secrets right now. The information that people don't realize impacts them and the factors that make you you. So in the last video, we talked about your family and how they literally created your operating system, the way you think and believe about yourself and the world you live in. Now, today we're going to talk about the community that you live in. And I'm giving everybody the free passes here to say it's my parents' fault, it's my community's fault, it's all of these factors that we're going to talk about. But once you have the knowledge, it becomes your responsibility and your right to change your life for you and your family. Let's say your kids or your grandkids. If you're young, don't worry about it. But just know that when you change you and stop operating out of the past, out of your outside circumstances, you'll change your life. And when you change your life, you change any future generations that you create. It's not about living your dreams only and making more money. It is. We want to do that for you and me. Why not live a great life, right? Money is beautiful. Money gives you the ability to do things and help people and experience things. But money also changes the lives of your family and all the people around you and your community, what we're going to talk about today. So I'll ask you probably for the third time, did you grow up on the right side of the tracks or the wrong side? Or maybe in the middle class? Either way, the chances that you have been impacted and programmed by your community is great. Because here's the thing, our reality is created often because we're not taught how to use our brain, reprogram and achieve the results we want. We're taught to look around to the people around us and ask for permission. Look to them as examples of who we are and what we can achieve. Look into our community and realize that's who we are. So let's use some examples. And we touched on it a little bit in the last video, but let's say you grew up in the rich neighborhood, the right side of the tracks. And I'm not saying your parents are good because they're rich. I mean, we know that's not how it works. And because you don't have money doesn't mean you're bad. Money and the goodness of the person is separate. It really is. Let's say your parents have reached the ability that they know how to generate and keep money, which is important. We can't deny that. My whole channel, Money Boss. Money gives us power. Power gives us the ability to choose and experience a life that we want. So if your parents were wealthy and you look around, chances are the people in your neighborhood are wealthy. They're living a good life. They're not struggling. They're not trying to put food on the table. They have extras. You may have boats and cabins and trips. You are experiencing life differently than middle class or poor. So because you were born in the right end of town, the rich end of town, you, just by the nature of the family you ended up in, are going to experience life differently. One. But number two, and most powerful, because you grow up in money is easy. doesn't make everything perfect in your family or your life, but you now have an expectation that money is easy to make and keep and generate. And it becomes your starting gate. So you're operating from the awareness and experience and belief and opportunity of a person that was born into money. So money's not a hard thing. That's just your expectation because that's how you were raised. So the community you grow up in, if you look around and you see wealth, you believe wealth, you expect wealth, and chances are you are going to create wealth in your future because your programming that we talked about in the last video, your programming from your family, 0 to 7 years old, which formed your subconscious programming, which is 98% of your thoughts as an adult, all of that was generated in a family, in a childhood that had access to money. So your beliefs is money is easy to come by. Money is just what we have. There's lots of money. We can buy whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. So you're going to end up in different situations and schooling and some different opportunities, but you're going to have that expectation. And as soon as you expect that, that's what you get because that's the frequency, awareness, belief that you're operating on. Take it to middle class. Let's go all the way to poverty first. Let's say, again, how I said in the last video, if you are born into extreme poverty, and whether or not there's dysfunction, ghetto, whatever we want to call it, and don't get lost in the weeds here. Our only victim pass is at the beginning, realizing that these things form us, but they are not the things that determine our fate. We can recognize that our family programmed us to be who we are. We can recognize that the community we grew up in impacted our view on what life is and what we deserve. We can recognize that, and then we take the personal power and change it. So let's say you are in total dysfunction, you're in the ghetto, it's theft, it's poverty, it's struggle, it's drugs, it's abuse, it's all things bad. Let's just go to the worst scenario. Okay. You, as a child from 0 to 7, are programmed in a community where your parents and your neighbors and everybody around you are struggling. Drugs is the reality. Maybe welfare. They say that welfare is generational. If you look at most welfare recipients, they're 3rd or 4th generation. Why? Because that's how they grew up. That is their programming, their expectation, and their reality. And because we live in such communities that we look out and we see it, and it reaffirms that is how reality is. And because we see it, it becomes our programming and our expectations, and then that's how we operate. I would like to hope that it's changed with the easy access of phones and video and YouTubes and social media influencer. It's probably changed a lot, but the programming from 0 to 7 years old is just unbelievably powerful. And often we're not even aware. Most people, we're not taught this. Why didn't they teach us this in school? Because we reprogram, become successful, be the masters of our life, and powerful individuals in charge of our destiny. But because you grew up in poverty, you look around, that's your parents, that's your aunts, that's your uncles, that's your grandparents, that's your neighbors, that's your entire community. And if you don't leave your community, which you probably might not because there's not a lot of money to travel, you don't experience anything else. And if you don't experience anything else and you're not taught that this is just your current reality, that's what you're going to believe, that's what you're going to think, and that's what you create. That's the reality creation cycle. Now go to the middle. Let's say we're in here middle class and you're somewhere on the spectrum. Same thing goes. Whatever you've seen your parents do in your community, that's going to have programmed you for how you think, believe, operate on what is possible for you in your life. When meanwhile, that's part of that old, outdated operating system that I talked about in the last video. Our parents create our mindset from 0 to 7 years old, as I've said a few times. Repetition's key. They create our operating system. And the problem is we're adults. And many of us, unless we've done deep work, professional development, and realize that we can change, chances are you're operating out of the same thoughts and beliefs about your potential and about the world that your parents did and that the people in your community did. And that's the self-fulfilling prophecy of our surroundings, because we look around and what we receive onto our eyeballs goes into our brain and recreates our reality in the form of our words and our actions, right? We see what is reality and then we just reprogram, spit that out and repeat it. So it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you come from poverty, unless you realize that that's your parents' results and not yours, and your community you came from, and you can just go reprogramming, put in the new app, tap into all the free information, unless you have that moment or that person that comes in and shows you this is what's happening and tells you that that doesn't have to be your reality, unless you have those moments, you're going to repeat it. And guess what? Your kids are going to watch you and repeat you. And then their kids are going to watch them. So what needs to happen here? Somebody in the lineage of your family needs to break the cycle. So if it's fourth generation poverty, somebody needs to get mad and say, I'm not living like this. We live in 2024 and there is free tools, free social media, jobs everywhere. I can work, I can get myself out of this, and I can get my family out of this. We can move from the wrong side of the tracks to the right side of the tracks. And people do it. You look at most millionaires and billionaires, most of them didn't come from money. They didn't have a silver spoon. Most of them came from dysfunction, poverty, drug abuse, physical abuse, and they finally said, no more. This won't be my future. This won't be my kids' future. And they make the decision, they commit, they upgrade, and they never stop learning and trying and elevating their life so that soon enough, they're no longer operating from their parents' belief. They're no longer in the same community. So now when their kids come in, they've just transplanted reality. They didn't get the programming of grandparents and parents. They didn't get the programming of the ghetto. Those kids are now in a new neighborhood with parents that think different, with neighbors that are different than had their parents not changed their own reality. Does that make sense? This is powerful stuff. You know, everybody, you, sorry to point, but you in the audience, you can change your life. There is nobody more responsible for your life and your results than you. And you have everything you need in here. If you can think, if you can act, if you can go out and make the most of yourself, you can do it. You absolutely can. You just need to update the mindset and then continue to elevate yourself. So if you were born on the wrong side of the tracks, yes, you get a free pass. That has helped create who you are right now through your parents and your community. But here's the thing. You now know it's on you to change it for yourself and future generations. If you're young, you don't care about that. You will when you're older, and that's a beautiful byproduct. But hey, the world's our oyster. And it is a lot harder to live a life of struggle than it is to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and change your destiny. You can do it. I believe in you. You should too. See you on the next episode. Bye, guys.